Hello, I'm Damien Jones from H&H Classics, and welcome to a brief overview of the 121 motorcars we've got going under the hammer at our first physical sale of 2023 at the Imperial War Museum, Duxford. It is, as ever, we've been very fortunate, an amazing cross-section of vehicles. So the cover car is a 1939 Lagonda V12 Drophead Coupe that has been meticulously restored. There are hundreds of photos on file showing the workmanship, showing the car going all the way down to a bare chassis and being built back up again. It really is a glorious thing. Current owner's been invited to exhibit it at Salon Privé. That might be an invitation that can be extended to the new owner, but it is a glorious example of arguably W.O. Bentley's, certainly his 1930s masterpiece. V12 engines were the pinnacle for UK manufacturers, and W.O. Bentley, with that particular car, was rivaling the Rolls-Royce Phantom VI. He was mirroring contemporary aero engine practice, and it also gives you a snapshot of where Lagonda had gone through the years. So at the auction, there is also a 1928 Lagonda 2-litre high-chassis Tourer. That, again, has been very nicely restored. Mechanically, it's been uprated with a downdraft cylinder head, so a bit more performance than they usually have. But that is a 2-litre 4-cylinder model. You go through into the 30s, and Lagonda again are using straight 6 engines, very much in vogue at the time. So we've got a 1937 LG45 Tourer with a Meadows 4.5-litre engine. And then it seems amazing, but as I say, just 2 years later, we're with the WO-inspired V12 Drophead. So there's 3 lovely Lagondas. Lagonda obviously was a rival in period to Bentley, and we've got some fabulous Bentleys in the sale. So we've got Wilfred. Wilfred is a 1923 Bentley 3-litre Tourer that started life racing at Brooklands. It was raced there by C.W. Fiennes, who's a distant relative of Sir Ranulph Fiennes and the actor Ralph Fiennes. The car, after it had been raced at Brooklands, was standardised, if you like, and put into road car format. It has a continuous history from new, and it's been in the current ownership since 1963, so that's 60 years. And the current owner is somebody who's really quite well known in the old car scene, and he took the car to Le Mans with Sammy Davis, the former Bentley boy and well-known journalist, to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the company's founding, 50th anniversary of Bentley's founding. And there's some fabulous history with that particular car. It's not run in the last couple of years, but a very worthwhile project. Been inspected by Claire Hay, so it's got a lot going for it. Also in the sale is a 1933 Bentley 3.5-litre Pillarless Coupe. Now that is understood to be the 5th Derby Bentley delivered to a customer, the first one to wear gurney nutting coachwork, and one of only 16 Derby Bentleys to have been clothed as a Pillarless Coupe by gurney nutting. It's a former concours winner, and it has a wonderful story behind it. Amazingly, and the chances must be 1 in a million, the car's original body was taken off in the 40s and replaced with a more practical 4-door body. And then the original body, a later owner, was looking to replace the 4-door coachwork, which is a little bit tired, answered an advert for a Derby Bentley body, and only after he found it, discovered that it was actually the body that was originally fitted to his car. Then in the early 90s, the car was completely restored while it was in the ownership of Mr. Hepkiss, won various concours awards, been well preserved and part of various collections since then, and it is a glorious looking machine. In terms of prestigious marques, it doesn't really get any more prestigious than Bugatti, and we do have a 1920 Bugatti Type 23 Brescia Modifie. Now the Modifie really just means that it's one of the later Brescias, so it's got the 16-valve engine. So in complete contrast to today's Chiron, with 8 litres W16 quad turbos 4-wheel drive, the early Bugattis were lightweight, responsive, agile machines. So even though the Type 23 is only 1.5 litres, it weighed no more than a Lotus 7 or a Caterham, so really quite a brisk performer. Contemporary road tests talk about coming off the banking at Brooklands circuit at 80 miles an hour. Anyway, this particular Type 23 Brescia has been in current family ownership for quite some time. It's also a car that has had quite a lot of research done into its history. It comes with a report from David Sewell, the Bugatti historian, and that details that David Sewell thinks the car retains its original factory-fitted engine And very nicely, it's got the coachwork, although it wasn't originally fitted to this car, from another Type 23. So that is a real jewel of a car and a glorious thing. And just in terms of pre-war cars, a real fabulous little thing. We have a lovely cross-section of vehicles. When it comes to prestigious British marques, it doesn't get much more prestigious than Rolls-Royce. So we have a couple of amazingly special Rolls-Royces. We have Sir Michael Caine's first ever car. Now, Sir Michael Caine didn't really do things by halves, so he went straight in and bought a 1968 Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow Drophead Coupe. At the time, he could, for the same money, have gone out and bought an Aston Martin DB6 Volante and then wandered into Maranello concessionaires and bought a Ferrari 330 GTS. But no, he bought the Rolls-Royce. Now, this was at a time where he'd been filming, he'd just risen to fame, so he'd gone from pay packets in 1964, he got £4,000 for Zulu. 2 years later for Gambit, he got $250,000. So money wasn't a problem. He was somebody who'd been told that he wouldn't succeed with his Cockney accent, and he proved very much otherwise and was keen to show the trappings of his success. So he took a flat on Grosvenor Square and he bought this Rolls-Royce. It's also the car that he courted his now wife Shakira in, and he, at that time, along with a lot of other people, I mean, Princess Margaret, Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton, the Crays, he frequented a pub restaurant even, off the Fulham Road called the Gasworks. And actually the proprietor of the Gasworks, Jack Leach, became the Rolls-Royce's second owner. And he kept it all the way up until his death in 2013. It then went into storage. The vendor bought the car in 2018 and has comprehensively restored it. So a lot of mechanical work done by Michael Hibbard, and the car's been repainted in its original Valentine black. So that is a very special car. It's featured extensively in the 1969 film Candid Caine, which is a self-portrait of Michael Caine. And just in terms of 60s cool, it's a wonderful thing. In terms of what was then the most expensive car that money could buy, we have a 1975 Rolls-Royce Phantom VI. Now, that car, amazing, has only had 3 owners from new. The first owner, slightly notorious, was Adnan Khashoggi, who was one of the world's richest men at the time. He had access to no fewer than 100 cars, 3 jets, and 3 super yachts. So not short of a bob or two. He bought that car. It's one of 2 that were originally finished in peacock over silver mink. It's a replica in that sense of the 1973 Earl's Court Motor Show car. After Khashoggi, it was bought by a chap who was very high up in the Sega consortium, so perhaps best known for computer games, but it was the Sega. And then the current late owner, Bob Riding, bought the car 20-odd years ago. So it's only ever had 3 owners from new. The odometer is showing just under 18,000 miles. We believe that to be correct. And like the rest of the Bob Riding cars that we were instructed to sell last year, the proceeds of sale will be going to the RNLI. So it's a very worthwhile bid and a historic car. As ever, we're looking towards the future in all markets with our sales. So we have 25 fast road entries, the crowning jewel of which is the Ford RS200. Now, that car has been in 2 collections since the mid-90s. We actually sold it to the vendor when we dispersed the Dick Van Dyke collection in 2005. It's one of only 49 left-hand drive road-going examples, and it was originally a tarmac demonstrator. It was fitted with a 350 brake horsepower upgrade kit, but it's just a fabulous Group B homologation special, and Group B was such an important era for rallying. I mean, the cars were so crazily fast. It's well known or well recounted that in 1986, various Group B teams and Formula One teams were both testing at the Estoril circuit. And Henry Toivonen in the Lancia Delta S4, so a rival to the Ford RS200, were setting times that were comparable, would have put him within the top 10 of the Formula One times at the same circuit. So that is just insane. Obviously, Formula One in those days, it was much more about mechanical grip than aerodynamic grip, but just gave you an idea of how out there those cars were in terms of performance. So the fast road section, I mean, there's a lovely series and choice of cars there. There is a Lotus Elise that's had one owner from new and covered only a bit over 11,000 miles. There is a 2002 Porsche 911, one of the 996 generation cars. That's a Carrera 4S. Now that is rare because it's finished in Carrera white, but it's very rare because it's covered 630 miles from new. So that really is go find another. If you want your chance to buy what's probably as close to a brand new Porsche after 21 years as possible, that particular car is there. So as I say, it's an amazing cross-section of vehicles that we've got going under the hammer. Will be open for public view on Tuesday, March the 14th from 12 until 6, and then on the morning of the sale, Wednesday, March the 15th from 9 o'clock onwards. As ever, you can bid in person. We'd love to see you via the telephone or via online, our own platform. So whichever way you want to do it, you'll be more than welcome. If you have any questions about any of the vehicles that are going under the hammer, please don't hesitate to contact us either via email info@h&h.co.uk or telephone 01925 210 035. We very much hope you can make it, and thank you very much for watching.